Is it possible to make an artsy reversible jacket with no pattern making? I'm going to give it a shot with these two pre-owned shirts. Thank you for joining me. My name is Tracy, if you haven't been here before, and this is a DIY upcycling channel. Now, my plan for the reversible jacket is to take two shirts, decorate them, and fuse them together, wrong sides together. That way they're reversible. Now, I'm starting with two pre-owned shirts from eBay, and these are both 2X, and they're both cotton, and the colors are cohesive. I'm going to show you two more shirts that I'm contemplating doing this with. How cute are those? I chose the other one. Theirs was just a lot going on here. The other one seemed easier, to be honest, but you could use flannel, denim shirts. Boy, the possibilities are infinite. Let's get rolling. First thing I'm going to do is pop all the buttons off of both shirts with my seam ripper. Then I'm going to remove the collar on both shirts. There's a seam right here, and I'm cutting on this side of that seam, very close to it. This shirt has two pockets, and I'm going to cut those off. Now, I'm going to be adding a ruffle at the bottom of the jacket and a flared sleeve. But right now, what I have to do is take one of the shirts, it doesn't matter which, and I'm going to put it on inside out. And then I'm going to take the other shirt and put it on right side out. And I'm just going to begin the process of sort of lining this up. Now I'm going to take a few pins, and I am just going to line up these collars and just sort of temporarily pin them so that they don't shift around too much on me. And now on the front, I'm going to stick a few pins here and on this side. That's just to help keep me organized. Now I'm lining up the sleeves the best I can. What I will not do is make myself crazy and make sure there's no lumps inside, perfectly smooth. I'm getting it pretty good, but I'm not going to stress about that. Now I'm just taking my yardstick from the bottom up. I'm going to measure 10 inches. I'm going to use a 9-inch ruffle, but I'm cutting 10 inches off each sleeve. Now I'm going to crop it because I'm going to add a ruffle, and I stuck a pin. I'm cropping mine to about here. You make yours as long or short as you want. Now to crop it, all I'm going to do is take the front sides, line them up, lay it out like this, and I'm going to take a minute and just make sure everything's nice and lined up. And it will be kind of, is this one wrinkled under here? Do not sweat. I'm not going to sweat that because I feel like I can adjust once it's all apart and this hard part, maybe scary part is done. I can adjust it. So I'm just going to line it up the best I can. Do your best, nothing more, nothing less. Here's the front of my shirt where the buttons are. This is the bottom. Here's my pin where I marked where I want to cut it, and I'm just cutting it straight across. Now I'm going to unpin this, take it apart, see what we got, and I imagine the bottom will be a bit jagged because it is almost impossible to have that perfectly smooth, but I feel like we can deal with that. Now I have two little shirts, and they are jagged, but that's okay. We're going to sew a ruffle at the bottom. Not too bad at all. Here's the other one. Okay, now I'm just going to decorate each one individually. First thing I'm going to do is just take an old cutting mat, and I'm going to slip it in between these layers just to make it easier to pin. First, I have a strip of fabric like this, and this was from a thrifted dress. Now, we cut off the buttons, but we still have buttonholes. I want to hide those so it doesn't look like we're missing buttons. So I'm going to take this strip of fabric and I'm going to lay it right over those buttonholes, line it up towards the edge as best I can. Now, this collar has a curve right here. I'm just going to cut this to where it sort of blends in with that collar. And then I'll worry about trimming the bottom later. So I'm going to get that pinned on. Now I have a couple pieces of black sort of tapestry patches. I'm going to put one about here and one here. A little floral patch right there. I cut out a bird from an Amazon pillow cover. I'll put the link in my description. You know, birds and stuff can be kind of hard to find. These pillow covers aren't that expensive, really. And, you know, Etsy sells just appliques or the fabric with appliques you cut out yourself. One of my viewers said that Temu sells inexpensive appliques. I definitely have to check that out. Always on the search for great appliques. Actually, I mixed up my floral appliques. The bigger one is supposed to go here, and this one will go on the sleeve. Now, this came off the bird pillow, or one of my other bird pillows. It says Dream. I'm going to put that right down the arm, right there. And this little floral patch, we'll just overlap that a little bit and go right there. Now I have this sort of little tapestry. I actually like the back side. It looks more worn and messy. And I'm going to put that on the sleeve over here, about right there. Now I have some narrow fabric scraps, and I'm going to run those down the opposite side of where the buttons were. I will use gold colored thread on everything except one part that I'll show you later. And now I am just going to go around all my patches and appliques with a fairly small zigzag stitch using this thread, staying close to the edges. Here's what the front is looking like. Now I want to decorate the back. First, I have this flower cluster cut from thrifted curtains. Then I have two birds cut from a set of Amazon pillow covers. I'll put the link in my description if you're interested. I'm going to get those pinned on and sew everything on just like I did the front. Here's what it's looking like so far. Really cute. Now I'm going to decorate the front and back of the pink one. Now this one, I'm going to start a little differently. I want a tie closure. And so I put it on just to kind of feel out where I think the top would lay nice and it would be flattering. And I stuck a pin right here. This is where I want my ties. And I'm going to use 1 inch, kind of a mauve pink satin ribbon. And I have two pieces. They are each 32 inches long. Here's the front of my shirt. This is where the buttons were, buttonholes. And here are my pins where I want the ribbons. So what I'm going to do is just take it to my machine like this. I am going to sew the edge of my ribbon at the very edge of the shirt, right where that pin is, and I am going to go over it a couple times with a zigzag stitch, and then I'll come over and do the same thing to the opposite side. I want to do this now because when I decorate it, that'll hide all that unattractive stitching. Now I'm going to start this one with a piece of yellow floral from a skirt. I have a big dragonfly. I recently got this at a garage sale. It was a pillow. I cut the pillow cover off, cut out the butterfly. You know, if you're thrifting, check out the pillows at the thrift store. A lot of times there's amazing graphics and fabrics on the pillows that you can cut up. Now I'm going to sew everything on, just like I did the other shirt. The only difference is I'm going to use blue thread on the dragonfly and not gold. Here's what that is looking like. I haven't sewn the dragonfly yet because I want to do both of them together. I'm going to have one on the back. Now it's time to decorate the back. Here's what this one looks like so far. Now I'm going to sew them together. So I'm doing this on my mannequin so that you can get a more clear picture of what I'm doing. So I took the first jacket that I made and I turned it inside out and I just set it on my mannequin because I want these right sides together. Now I'm taking the second one I made and it'll be right side out, and I am just lining it up with this one. Now, here's the neckline. I'm just going to pin that together, and I doubt if yours, just like mine, will perfectly line up, but it's close enough if you choose the same size shirts. I'm going to put a pin there and a pin there to start. And then if one of them's a little bigger than the other, which mine's kind of right on the money, then I'll adjust it and make it a little pleaty, but I think mine's going to be just fine. Now I'm going to line up the front where our buttonholes were, and I'm going to pin those together too. Now I turned it around so I could do the opposite side of the front. Now I have the neckline pinned and I have these fronts pinned right through here. Now I'm going to line up the bottom, pin that all together, and I'm going to line up the sleeves and get that all pinned together. Okay, now that I have everything pinned together, I'm just going to sew the edges. So from here up and around and down, I'm going to use a zigzag stitch. And on the sleeves and the bottom of the jacket, I'm going to use a straight stitch and get it all sewn. Okay, all sewn together. And now I want to add the bottom ruffle, and then I'm going to add the flared sleeves. Okay, so my ruffle has to be double-sided so that there's a right side on each side of the jacket. So I made 2 long rectangles that look like this. Now, these are 9 inches tall. The bottom of my jacket measures 57 inches all the way around. So I almost doubled this, and this is 110 inches long. Now each rectangle ranges from 10 to 15 inches, and I used an old quilt topper that I found at the thrift store, part of a skirt, some scrap fabric, things like that. So this one will go with kind of the darker, more fall side of the jacket. So I had to make another one to go. Let me turn the jacket around so you can see it together. Now this one is also 9 inches tall, but the rectangles are a little bit smaller, and I use a vintage tablecloth. I found that at a garage sale for $1. And then some of this green is from a bed sheet. So this is also 9 inches tall, 110 inches long. I want it to be the same length as the other one. Now, if you don't want to bother with doing a patchwork, you know, maybe you have some fabric that's long enough. You might have to piece a couple together of a pretty pattern that you want to use. But this wasn't too much trouble, really. I'll show you what I do with these. Okay, what I'm going to do is lay these together, right sides together, right on top of each other like that. Now this is really long. I'm just going to sort of show you at one end. And I am simply just going to use a straight stitch, go down the side, go down the long end, one end of these long rectangles. And then when I get to the opposite side, I'm going to close that up as well. But I'm going to leave one side open. And you can pin yours. I don't really see any need to pin this. That's pretty straightforward. Quarter inch seam allowance, straight stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this right side out. Kind of looks like this. And I'm just going to line that up nicely, and I'm going to press these seams that I just made on the sides along the top, and remember the bottom part is still open. So I want my ruffle to be a little bit longer in the front, come up shorter, and then come down a little longer in the back. So that requires some creative cutting. Now, creativity takes courage. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my ruffle and I'm going to fold it perfectly in half. Now I've got the fold side up towards me. Just makes it easier to fold. Now I'm gonna lay it on my table and show you how I cut it. Okay, so here is my open side. That'll be in the front. My folded side will be in the back. And here are the seams that we sewed. So I lined those up nice. And now, this is just kind of guessing, eyeballing. I am starting down in the front about here. I already made my line because I had to give it some thought. And I'm bringing it up, 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 up. And now I'm kind of flattening it out for a little while. And then I'm going to start dipping back down, kind of straighten out again to the very end. And now I'm going to cut along that line. Now the ruffle kind of has a shape like this. Okay, so my cut edge here, I want to sew that together. So I'm at my ironing board. I'm not ironing this second. I thought I was going to, that's why I'm standing here. I'm going to turn it inside out again. And And I might stick a few pins in the bottom of it this time. And I am going with a straight stitch, so a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down. And when I get to the opposite end, I'll pretend this is the opposite end, I'm going to leave maybe 4 or 5 inches in order to get my hand in there to turn it right side out again. Now on these drastic curves, I'm just clipping little notches up to, but not through that stitch line. That just helps it when you turn it right side out that it lays smoothly. Now with that little hole I left open, I'm just going to work it right side out. Now the little gap that we left open to turn it inside out or right side out, I just folded those in and pressed them. And I'm just going to do a top stitch right here, fairly close to the edge. If you want to do a hidden stitch or slip stitch right there, you certainly can. Now I want to sew the ruffle to the bottom of my jacket. And there are several ways to do this. This is just the way I prefer. You can baste it and shear it this and then sew it on. I like to do it this way. So this is my straight edge. This is my straight side. This is my curvy side. I am going to lay this right sides together. So this is the side I want to match this side of the jacket. So I'm laying that on top of the jacket. And I am going to pin one corner. And then I'm coming to this side and I'm going to pin the opposite corner. Now I'm going to find the approximate center of my ruffle, which is right here, and the approximate center of my jacket, which is right here. And pin that. Now, between this pin and the pin I just did, again, I'm going to find the approximate center here, approximate center here, pin it. And my gaps will keep getting smaller and smaller until it's a manageable amount of pleating to sew. So I'll just go to the center. Okay, now I have everything all pinned, and I am just going to use a straight stitch. I'm trying to line the side of the presser foot up with the edge, but there's a lot going on there, so I may have to do 1/2 inch seam allowance instead of 1/4. I'll have to see what it does at the machine, but I am just going to go along the edge, get that all sewn on, and I'll have to manipulate these ruffles a little bit. I'll probably pull them towards me as I sew. I like to keep them all one direction. Okay, here it is so far. The ruffle on the bird side of the jacket. So cute. Now I'm going to turn it the other way so you can see the other ruffle. And there's what that one looks like. I tell you, this has been a little bit of a project engineering this, but I think it's turning out amazing. Now I want to do the flared sleeves. Okay, for the sleeves, I made 4 rectangles sort of like this. These 2 for the pink side and these 2 for the bird side. And they are just kind of patchwork like I did the ruffle, Only on these I added some velvet patches just for fun. I measured the circumference of the bottom of the sleeve and I got 15 inches around, and I added 11 inches to that, and that's that 26 inches. So these are 26 inches long and they're 9 inches tall. So these two are for this side, and these two, exact same size, are for the bird side of the jacket. I'll show you what I do. Okay, on all four of these, I am going to fold them in half, right sides together, and I am just going to run a stitch down the edges. Now I'm turning them right side out and pressing that seam we just made. Now here's one set and here's one set. I need to pick one set to turn inside out, and it does not matter which one really. So I'm going to take one from this set that is right side out, one from this set that is inside out, and I'm just going to line them up, and now they're right sides together inside here. Now I'm lining up the edges and pinning them together. And then after I pinned them, I sewed all the way around the edge on both pieces. Now I'm going to turn this right side out and tuck this little guy inside like that. So now I can see both right sides. And then I'm going to go press this seam nicely right here on both. So now this is what we have. It's finished on the inside. This is the seam that I just pressed on both. And then we still have it open right here. Now I'm going to stick a few pins in this, and I'm going to sew it shut just from the outside. It can even be like a basting stitch, because I am going to sew this end to the arm sleeve, and it's just way easier if these are stitched together rather than fighting the two different fabrics. Now I have these all pinned. I'm just going to run a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around, and I'm still going to have a raw edge when I'm finished. It'll just be raw edge sewn together. Okay, now I'm ready to sew these onto the sleeve. So here's one sleeve, and here's my little sleeve part. So what I'm going to do is this, I'm calling the pink side of my jacket. Now this is the side I want to see, this, the inside of this, I want to match up with this. So what I need to do is take the finished end side that we pressed nice, and I'm going, that's the bottom, I'm going to put that in first over top of the sleeve, and I have right sides together, the pink with the pink. And now I'm just going to line this sleeve up with the edge of the new sleeve part, and I'm going to pin them and pleat them just like I did the ruffle down here. So I'm going to go to the side, stick a pin, then I'm going to go to the opposite side here, lay this out sort of flat, and I want to find the end on this side and pin it to the side of the sleeve here. That way we have it evenly distributed, and the rest of the pleats will be easy once you have those. And then to find the center of this, pin it. And just keep doing that until your ruffles are smaller and smaller and manageable to sew. Now both sleeves are pinned. I'm just going to go sew that on. Quarter and seam allowance straight stitch. Here's the seam that I just sewed, and I am just going to trim this now pretty close to that stitch line, get that all cleaned up. Now I can pull these sleeves down, see what they look like. Adorable. Now I got some of this zigzag trim from Walmart, and I've never used it before. It was over next to the, mixed in with the bias tape near the thread. Now, I still have a raw edge on this sleeve. I am just going to take this, and I'm not going to worry about bending that over, making sure it's clean, all of that, because I have a lot of frayed, tattered edges. So I will start underneath the arm and just sew it all the way around on top of that seam. And I'm thinking if I just sort of stay towards the middle, it won't be too difficult to sew. I'm going to use green thread and a straight stitch for that. And then I'll do it on this sleeve, of course. And I think what I'll do, let me tip this down a little bit. So this is the front of my jacket, where the buttons would be, where the ribbon is. Now, I feel like if I only did the zigzag on the sleeve, it might seem like it needs to be somewhere else. So I am going to put it on one side, asymmetrical, not on this side, and I am going to run it, about an inch maybe away from the edge, run it up this piece of fabric, up to this collar, underneath that collar line, and just up to this shoulder seam. Oh, maybe I'll come about an inch. Yeah, here's the seam of the neckline. I think I'll stay about an inch down from the neckline like it is from the edge of the jacket. And I'll go get all these pieces sewn on. It is done. There's the little zigzags. I wanted to show you on a hanger because being able to see that finished inside while looking at the jacket makes it look so expensive. And I've tried this on and it is just yummy. It's all cotton. It's the perfect weight. Now I'm going to put it on the hanger the other way just because it's so cute like that. And then I'm going to try it on for you and show you what it looks like on a person. I mean, how wonderful is that? If I do say so myself. I just love this. Okay, I'm gonna go put it on for you. How cute is that? I just love it. I have it with a dress that I have a tutorial for. I'll put that link in my, let me move this up so I can talk to you. I'll put the link to this dress in my description down below. This hat is a bucket hat that I got from eBay, and I tea stained it, but I decorated it with a headband that I made and have a tutorial for that headband, so I'll put that link in my description as well. Now I'm going to turn this inside out and let you see the other side. How fun is that? This is more, I mean, all year round, but I'd say great for fall. Now, I just want to mention, I don't love sewing. I don't know if anybody knew that. And I don't look at my sewing machine and what I do as really sewing. I look at my sewing machine as sort of a tool to create what I envision, wearable art. And I made friends with my machine. I make it work for me, and I don't let it intimidate me, even though I'm not an expert seamstress. You know, it's an art tool, just like a painter has a paintbrush, a potter has a wheel. That's how I look at it. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is put this on my mannequin and bring it in a little closer so that you can see a lot of the details. And then at the very end of this, I'm going to do 4 pictures, front, back of both sides, in case you want to do a screenshot and give this a try. I thank you so much for watching.